Mr. Roach, an honor, sir. Pleasure
Thanks,
to meet
Jake.
you.
Thank you.
I was wondering, there are obviously so many real people involved with the story. I was wondering if you could sit in a theater and watch Bombshell with one real person involved with the story, and then when it's over, lean over and go, so what'd you think? Who is the person you'd want to watch it with?
Hands down, Gretchen Carlson.
Why?
Because she had to sign an NDA when she settled with Fox. She got a rare apology from them for having mistreated her so horribly. She got a settlement, but she had to sign an NDA because of forced arbitration and things, by the way, she's campaigned against generally for other women since then. But she can't talk to us. And so I've very much hoped we would be able to show her the film and see her react to us portraying her as a very, very courageous person who took on one of the most powerful men in all of, corporate industry, like media for sure, and contributed to a complete change in that organization and helped bring him down.
Speaking of NDAs, though, you did get a lot of people to come forward and break their NDAs by speaking to you. How do you convince someone to trust you and essentially put themselves in a very dangerous situation?
Well, everybody at Fox, and by the way, I think everybody in all of entertainment, I'm pretty sure I sign an NDA when I make my deal, and all of us do in the film business too. So anybody who would have wanted to come forward would have had to be doing so in secrecy, and we had to promise them first that we would never reveal that they spoke to us, and then we had to promise them that we would work tirelessly to get their story right. This was a tremendous obligation we felt because they were coming forward at great risk in themselves. The women in our story who spoke up at the time, Gretchen Carlson, risked everything and lost everything career-wise. She didn't work in broadcasting ever again. Rudy Bakhtar, who's portrayed in the story early on where you hear her thoughts, and never worked in broadcasting since 2006, So the price was so high, the risk was so great for every woman who spoke to us. We just tried to reassure them that, as I've tried to in all my films before about recent history, that we would just try to get it right.
You have a really nice tightrope walk between drama and comedy, obviously with Bombshell and Trumbo, and then Meet the Parents and Austin Powers. But a lot of those films have both of them within.
Sure.
Is it harder to find comedy within drama or find drama within comedy?
It's probably harder to find comedy within drama, and the tone in this film is a great example of it. It's just such a serious topic, and there's so much suffering that goes on, so much abuse, people really badly mistreating each other. So to find a tone that doesn't get so serious that you don't want to see it was really important to us. A lot of the women we spoke to coped with some of the stuff with a very dark, wry sense of humor, a sense of wit. I mean, a lot of the people that we talked to had a great sense of the absurdity of the situation, the surreality. So I wanted to cast people who could find that humor and find the ability to sort of, in a satirical sense, portray something like what it means to tell a Fox story, which Kate McKinnon does so wonderfully with Margot Robbie walking through the news organization. Megyn Kelly does her tour of Fox, and they're funny. The film, in the early part, gets a lot of laughs, and you're sort of thinking, is it okay to laugh in this situation? Well, yeah, because that's what people do. This is how you cope with this stuff. And of course, it makes you care about the characters more if you find some aspects of it entertaining, so that later when the horrible things begin to happen, you're like, oh, you didn't deserve that. You seem like a cool person. Speaking
about the horrible things, there are some truly uncomfortable, horrible scenes in this movie. I'm thinking of the one with Margot Robbie's character and Roger Ailes in his office.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in how you approach that day compared to maybe the funnier days on set? Is it a little different when you walk onto set that day?
It is, because it is a different sort of environment. For one thing, you are sort of reassuring of each other. John Lithgow, for example, had communicated with Margot, and just to let him know, look, I'm going to let her know I'm going to come at you in a very creepy way, and I don't think it has anything to do with anything other than I'm just playing this guy, and so they sort of were reassuring themselves. We all, for example, I wanted to make sure that I didn't make them go through it so many times. In a take where I'm playing around and improvising things, I might try a bunch of takes. But in a scene where it's something that excruciating, I try to make sure there are multiple cameras rolling, that everybody's on all the time, and that you won't have to, if everybody's up to speed early, you won't have to go through it a bunch of times. And so that was a way of protecting them and giving them permission to just go for it. Just, and when you tilt up to see Margot's face at the key moment when he's humiliating her, I don't know if I've ever been, involved in something so disturbing, so compelling, and so empathy demanding. You really empathize with her. So it was a tough day. I think we were all sort of hugging each other at the end and just trying to reassure each other, like, we're okay, right? We're okay. Everyone's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's beautifully handled. And shifting gears real quick, just the last question.
Sure.
So one of the very first movies I ever saved up money for as a child to buy on VHS was Austin Powers International Man of Mystery.
Wow.
Obviously, this year marks 20 years of the sequel. We're now in 2+ decades of Austin Powers being a part of pop culture. I'm curious, what does that mean to you? What's the 2 decades of Austin Powers, and where are we at on Austin Powers 4?
I don't know where we'll. I don't know if there. I don't know how likely it is there will be a sequel. It kind of is up to Mike. But the idea that the sort of spirit of Austin Powers, the kind of love versus fear, Dr. Evil versus Austin's thing, that still is fulfilling to see that talked about, and that the kind of joy and silliness of Austin is still somewhat contagious. We still I'm in the middle of making a serious movie, and I still get asked about it, and the fact that anyone even thinks about it anymore is pretty cool. So it's if we got to make another one someday, that'd be great. But it's always up to Mike.
And if he's up to it, you're coming back.
I've always said, but I've said that for 17 years.
Yep.
So I'm not sure that's news.
Fair enough.